And today is day two. If you can see me or hear me, say hello. I've got several screens here. I just want to make sure I can see and hear you. So yeah, today is day two of your herbal story, 5 days of tracking your plant path. And basically what I'm doing is I'm coming on live, kind of celebrate spring around here to just take some time and celebrate and acknowledge what you've done, how far you've come, how embodied is your plant path. And so we're going to get into that. I have a little journaling process that takes about 5 minutes that I've been doing for several decades with people, and people are surprised by what comes up and where it takes you. And hello everybody, thank you. Let me know where you're coming in from. I'm going to go through this about 5 to 10 minute exercise, and at the end I'm going to stay around and I'll answer questions and just be available for just to see what came up for you. This is a powerful process. And so again, this is a free journal series that we started yesterday. You can go back, there's a video from yesterday that you can watch after this one, but basically it's just about like releasing any stress that you might have been holding on to, whether you're aware of it or not, around your herbal studies, and taking a moment and celebrating your herbal studies, right? And your herbal journey, your path, and remembering the good memories, the high points, the struggles, the defining points, any challenge. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Yeah. So again, it's the fifth day, the second day of a 5 day Your Plant Path series that I'm doing. And I don't know about you, but I can get into a go, 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 go mode. How about you? And it's so nourishing to just stop and take stock, right? And let the embodiment of these memories of your journey on your plant path support you and help guide you. Actually, they can help guide you. Once we get into it deeper, they can help guide you into your next step. And to just embody and enjoy this journey that we're on, studying herbal medicine, reclaiming this art, a civic art. And so doing this series with me, it's really all about embodiment, bringing more consciousness to just what is it, this journey you're on. Because if you're here right now, you're on a journey. So we want to acknowledge that journey, right? Not just coincidence that you're here with me right now, right? There was a calling. There were deep life-changing moments. Not everyone is an herb person. You're here because you're here. There's something that happened to you, and you can take it for granted and you can say, oh, well, right? Or you can really celebrate. And again, let's just acknowledge how important being a plant person is at this time. It is the plant people that are bringing us back into right relationship with the earth and helping guide us to a more, I don't know, holistic health system. And, the plant people are the cultural transformers, right? They are there. It's slow and steady, slow and steady. Culture begins in the kitchen. Okay. And what you eat and what you drink and what herbs you use they contribute to our culture, and we are the slow and steady fire underneath this culture, changing medicine, changing how we view medicine, changing how we take care of our bodies. And so again, this is day two. And if you missed the first one, it's really important. Just after this, go back and watch that. You'll find the video in this area. And so today, all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil and a notebook, and you can use that. And we're going to jump right in. And so yesterday, our journal prompt was about remembering your chapters. We talked about, like maybe even doing it chronologically. What were your first earth awareness memories, right? Do you have that picture? Do your parents or somebody in your life have that picture of you in the forest or at the campground? And how did your journey go from there with herbs and flowers and spices and herbs and cooking? And what's been your journey so far, right? Maybe you had a cooking or a gardening or an herbal remedy mentor that got you, just like piqued the interest for you, right? Somebody that dropped some little hints about healthy food. And then maybe you took a break and came back to it. So in your chapters that we talked about yesterday, you want to think about the high points, the low points, the learning along the way, right? What are the threads that you followed? That's what we're going to do. And it's amazing when we take the time and stop and think about this. And so that's just a piece of the first journal prompt. What are your chapters and your highlights that we did yesterday? Many of you were on with me yesterday, and I talked about many chapters yesterday. And it's so I'm just going to let you kind of remember what you did yesterday, or if you weren't on with us yesterday, just take a moment and think about a couple of the chapters of your plant journey. For me, it's as simple as these darn little books that were printed in the 1950s that my grandfather gave me in the 1970s, right? So it's not like it is now where, can you relate to this? How many bookshelves, how many herb books do you have on your shelf right now that you haven't even looked at the recipes? I mean, really, right? But in the 70s, when I was really, 1970s, when I was really like waking up to this, there weren't any books. And so my grandfather gave me this book, Wild Food Plants of the Sierra. Oh my gosh. I have this book memorized. I read this book so many times. You know, there weren't other books. And then the other big seed was this, The Wildflowers of California, right? Just these beautiful books. And so again, now the books are kind of taken for granted, but for me, these few little books were huge chapters for me because nobody was talking about it. There was no internet and I couldn't find any information anywhere. And so these little tiny seed books were a big chapter for me. So you know, it's like maybe now the books aren't as big of a deal, but what seeds are we holding on to or cultivating for the next generation, right? What book was transformational for you? So so you want to just think about what a couple of those chapters were that were highlights or that really got you going, right? And then and you can go back to that if you didn't use it yesterday. So just take a minute now and reflect on a couple of those chapters, right? When you first started, your first big inspiration, your first big aha that of that plant path. What got you started? Okay. And when we're done with the prompt, I'm going to have you type it into um, Kathy saying, "Oh, I have over 40,000 urban plant books." Right. I had 3, you know. So just take a minute. Think about those chapters. Think about those things that really inspired you, that put you, helped guide you onto the plant path, right? And so I remember one chapter and so I'm going to talk just a little bit about a couple of my chapters to help you, you know, jog your memory if you weren't here yesterday. But I went on an herb walk when I was 8 years old. And I don't really remember a lot of things about my life at that time, but I have tunnel vision. I mean, tunnel vision back to that moment of being on that herb walk. It was transformational. And then when I came home, I started looking at every plant in my yard, my neighbors' yards, my neighborhood. Whenever we went somewhere, I'm wondering, I wonder what that is. It just woke me up, right? And then I just started wondering about every plant I saw. So yeah, that was one early chapter. And then much later for me, so think about your chapters. Okay, think about the highlights, the turning points, like when, you know, because it's not just you, it's like the plants are calling you, right? You're a plant person, you're here, not everybody is a plant person. So what's your journey, right? And I remember a much later chapter was when I went and studied with Michael Moore at the Southwest School of Botanical Medicine. I learned really how to make the highest quality herbal oils. And after I did that, I saw like, wow, I can really help people experience less pain and really help people not use as much over the counter medication. That was just huge for me to realize that I had learned something that could help people. So those are, hopefully that's just jogging a couple of your chapters. You know, for a lot of people, like, did a health challenge put you on the path, right? Did spending time in the garden with or the forest with your grandmother or grandparents put you on the path? Okay. So if you didn't do yesterday's exercise, go back and spend more time with your chapters. But hopefully you've remembered, you know, this has jogged one memory of like how you got here, right? Because again, the plant people, we're playing an important role right now. And it's not, you know, we got to stop and say, oh, okay, wow, I got to really open my heart to this process, that this journey that I'm on. Not that your heart's not open to it, but really acknowledge it, you know, and not just, it's like we don't have to just keep going and feel like we need to learn it all. Let's stop and just enjoy, take a moment and enjoy and honor and acknowledge what we're doing. So the journal prompt for today is, so these chapters, right? This story of you following the plants or the plants grabbing you. When have you been most present in that story? Like when, like I told you, I had tunnel vision back to this herb walk when I was 8 years old. When have you been when is it that you have been truly writing that story? Okay, so here's what I mean by that. It's like sometimes we get pulled towards something, and you find yourself in an herb class or obsessed with YouTube herbal recipes online, and you love the herbs and you love the cooking and the spices. But now, maybe you're like, you see somebody using something and you're like, oh, I got to know that too, or I got to know more, or I got to know how to take care of everything that my family is dealing with, right? And even though you just really love working with the spices, or you just really love making tea, right? But now you're like, oh, I have to know how to take care of everybody, or I have to know this, I have to know that. And there's this pressure, right? There's kind of a pressure. I know because I've been teaching for over 30 years and I listen to my students, right? I know, and I have that myself. So when I went to and studied with Michael Moore, here's my notebook. Oh my God, it's all handwritten, right? And actually, you can go over to my blog at cammymcbride.com and you can punch in Materia Medica into the blog search bar, and you can get my Materia Medica sheet that I made up that this book is full of. So this book has 400 plants in it. Oh my God, I felt so much pressure. I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. This is, I don't think I can do this. It was just so overwhelming and I felt like I had to know it all. And I felt pressurized and it became rote. The studying became rote. And it wasn't until I slowed down and started really listening to the plants and learning about my herbal allies that I was able to like remember the passion and the love of why I got started in the first place, right? There was just always this pressure to push through, learn more herbs, learn more about every herb. And you think like, I got to know that, I got to know that. But sometimes we get pulled into it in a way that's not really our story. So let me know if you can relate to that. Okay. How do you feel? How do you feel inside, really feel inside about where you're at in your herbal studies? Is it, do you have just like a great feeling, or do you feel like, oh, I just don't ever know enough? Right. So today is about just finding that place where you feel so just happy in your story. See, the thing is that herbalism is a generational art. It takes lifetimes to learn which plants to use when, which foods to prepare when. And that's why it's so important that we find our passion and hold on to it for the next generation, right? So that they don't have to start from scratch, so that this doesn't become some rote thing that's like, oh, yeah, whatever. It's like passion. Where's the passion? There's a lot of pathways in the herbal world. There's a lot of things that you can do. Where is your passion? Where are you? Have you felt most alive, most present in the chapters in your herbal journey, right? Right? Because it's like the pressure can take us out of our joy, And I mean, seriously, think about it. We, I mean, tell me, we are being exposed to more information in a day or a week than our grandmothers were in years, right? How can we do it all? But there's like, so literally we cannot do or learn it all. And the feeling like we need to is an obstacle. It dampens the joy. So is there anything around this like this that you deal with? I want to know. I'm very interested. I don't just teach herbal medicine. I'm a tracker. The thing is, I've been tracking my students for the last 32 years because I just want to understand this incredible revitalization of love for the earth and care for the earth and care for our body using plants, right? So, well, for some of us, for some of you, you're so lucky that there wasn't the cultural disruption and you had it. You still have it. Your mom has it or your grandparents have it. And you just like, oh, it's so good. Just really acknowledge and honor that and honor those elders. That if you have some knowledge, honor those elders today, right? But if you're like me, it left with my great great grandmother, right? People, yeah, they just thought it was old wives' tales and they let go of it. And my great grandmothers had some, but it was, it was like everybody's got to be born in the hospital. So I want you to think about, what is it that maybe hasn't felt like you, and but what are your most present in your herbal journey? Where have you been most present? What makes your heart well up, right? And where you engage fully in this story. So, it can be just like when you have extra time to putz around the garden, right? or when you make a batch of salve and you just have this amazing salve that you can just give to everybody, right? I know that for me, I feel very present in my story when I make herbal oils and salve to give away. I love, 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 love having medicine to give away. So I'll talk another about just my present times, and hopefully it'll kind of jog. Because see, once we ask this question, you're going to think of some things right now, but there will be other things that will come up. Okay, this process can go really deep. And so for me, I grew up with my grandparents and my parents. They were gleaners. My grandfather was a gleaner. He knew every fruit tree within 50 miles for sure. And we lived in an area at a time where a lot was happening, a lot was changing. And so all the orchards that were tended to were suddenly kind of not being tended to anymore. And so oh my gosh, we gleaned, and I loved that. And we were walnut people, right? I processed hundreds and hundreds of pounds of walnuts with my grandparents. And the thing about that I learned about that is the beauty of always having something to give. See, because when you work with the herbs, one of the things we learn is generosity. And so having that gift from the earth and turning it into something we love with using our hands, our head and our hands and our heart, then you have this beautiful medicine to give away. And so everyone I visit, everyone who comes over, I love that feeling of the generosity of just being able to give away a salve or something that I made. Or it could be that when you got into the right class and you really made the breakthrough in the quality of your medicine making, and then you felt really proud about how it helped somebody, right? So it's like, when is it? All right. So just think about your story, take a look at your chapters that you went through, how you started, highlight a turning point. Again, for a lot of people, it's their health that has them turn toward the plants. And then now think of, when were you just so in love and so present with those plants? What are those times that really stood out, right? Really, really stood out. And um, for me, it happens when it's like time stands still. It's like I work with the herbs, and there's like all of a sudden it's like the next day. I used to stay up all night making medicines, or I used to stay up till like 3 in the morning making oils and salves and body butters. It's like there's no time. It stops time for me. And then when you're just so in love and in the flow, right? So those are some of the chapters, the highlights of the chapters of mine. It may remind or trigger you. And, again, it's like, I honestly think of like when I made those first oils, so the first 5 years when I didn't really know what I was doing, all the moldy oil experiments, not knowing the best extraction methods. Those were some of the most fun times. It's like, I loved it. I love the learning process. I love getting better. And, have you had that experience where you just like see yourself get better, right? So this is the prompt, the journal prompt that we're talking about now. But and I'm going to go through and read and see what everybody's saying. But take your journal with you tonight and tomorrow, and ask this question and see what shows up. Right? And so, where do you feel so deeply in love and connected with the plants? That was another big turning point for me when I started really finding my plant allies. And I didn't have to, memorize from A to, it's like, oh my God, this book is insane, right? It's alphabetized. I didn't have to memorize everything in there. I just had to find the few plants that I was in love with. And that's the point where herbalism became spiritual for me. It really became something that I could help guide my life, and that I could give back to, and how I worked with it. And at that point, when it became a spiritual process for me, that was really me, memorizing all the 400 plants that Michael taught us. I'm so grateful for that, but oh my gosh. And for some of you, that's your power, that's your passion. What is it for you? So I was so grateful when I learned I didn't have to memorize every single constituent, but could feel the medicine of the plants and the relationship. It was more me, more me. I started to be really present in what I was doing, and not just, someone else's expectation of what I should do and know. That's a big one. Okay. You don't have to do this based on an expectation of what's on Instagram or what you think. Follow your heart with this one. Okay. Find your passion. Okay, so again, this is day 2 in this free your herbal story, tracking your plant path. You can go over to CammieMcBride.com and get on the newsletter or email list so you can receive prompts from me on this. And I'm also doing this in my private Facebook group, My Herbal Kitchen on Facebook. And so, yeah, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the chat now. And there's so much chat that's come in. I might miss you. Forgive me. Put it in again if I've missed you. And so leave me a comment here wherever you're at, whether you're on my YouTube channel or my Herbal Kitchen private Facebook, or if you're on Facebook, wherever you're at, Instagram. I would love for you to take a moment now and write a comment. I'm going to read every single one because I actually love this as much as making salve. I love hearing what's underneath this movement, because it's a massive cultural movement right now. And what is it? I love that part. So leave a comment wherever you're at. I'm going to read every single one. And where is it that you felt the most passion, the most pleasure, the most presence of being in all of your herbal learning chapters? So Diane says, last summer a support group told me about a plantain poultice. I tried it on poison ivy and was totally amazed when it took away the sting. Oh yeah. Then healed the blisters within a couple hours, then ate helped me discover all the herbs around my house. Then there was purslane, totally into this amazing journey. So Diane, you were captured, you had this one experience. I have seen so many people be brought in through plantain, right? It's like, first this sting hurt, first this red thing hurt, and now it doesn't. So plantain's like, gotcha. And then you just can't not know what's next, right? Okay, let me see if I can see the chat better, where I can see that. Okay. My Humble Kitchen says, that's exactly how I felt. I felt that I needed to know every plant and its use. Yeah. Herbal medicine is a generational art. We don't learn it in one lifetime. And this expectation that we're supposed to know it all is part of, I don't know, I don't want to be harsh, but it's like, it's part of what we're dealing with in this culture is have it all, do it all, know it all, be it all. And that's why I really encourage you to get into an online group or get into a medicine circle so that you don't have to know it all. You can share that knowing and learning with others and just be happy and joyful with what's your part, right? Hey, Susan. Okay, so leave me a comment in the chat and tell me, when do you feel the most present on this herbal journey? When is it that you're just like, oh, I love this part the most? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Okay, Claudia says fat leaf or skinny. With the plantain, I think you're talking about, you can do Plantago lanceolata or Plantago majoris, either one, skinny or fat. You just really want to make sure you have 100% accurate identification with any plant that you're using. Okay, I remember hiking in southern France in my 20s and walked a lavender field. Oh, the odor and the sound of the bees was so enthralling. Yeah, so the plants capture us through our senses and also through our emotions. So you really want to, I talk about this a lot in my plant wisdom course that I'll be opening up in March. But really, the plants communicate with us through emotion. And so when you have that strong, time stopping, jaw stopping emotion, like in that lavender field, those plants, they're reaching out to you, right? And so it's just for us to develop the skill and the techniques to know how to reciprocate that communication, right? Okay. Okay, I remember. Okay, yeah. I remember my grandmother laying green walnuts in her driveway and running them over with her car to break the hulls. I remember the stains on the concrete. Walnuts are awesome. Oh, okay, I've been learning herbs since a child. My master taught me that you will never know everything about everything a plant can do. When you become one with the plant, it will guide you to where you need to go with it. Once I stopped trying to know everything about an herb and set with one at a time, it helped me to love the herb plant and not be frustrated. Exactly. That's what happened for me also, very much so. It's like when we really learn that how to open our own personal doorway of being able to actually perceive communication and apply that communication safely and reciprocate with the plants, it just really changed everything for me. Carol says, I consider myself a beginner and I just want to know more. I want to grow an herb garden. Yes, do it. Just start with, people say, oh, I don't have any, even if it's like 2 pots and you're growing oregano and garlic chives, or calendula. It doesn't just start. One plant will need to the next. You don't have to put in a huge garden. You just start with 3 plants, right? So yeah, also on my blog, CammieMcBride.com, I have, if you put in herb garden, I have like the top 3 easiest herbs to grow. Jessica says, I got your book from Kindle. Good. The Herbal Kitchen. Yeah, that'll keep you busy. Caroline says, dandelion has been my totem plant for years. I've sit and listened to its wisdom, drawn pictures, made tinctures, and used dried and fresh. Miracle for the liver. That's good. You found your ally. Tammy says, I'm still at the beginning of my journey and I'm so excited about learning and the possibilities. Yeah. The plants, you will never be bored. They will always, it's like for me, plantain is one of my, I had this experience where I really kind of dedicate. I was a student. I said I'm going to be a student of the plantain, and I ate some plantain every day for 3 months and sat with plantain every day for 3 months. And it is truly, when everywhere I go, I feel like I have a friend. I have somebody that I can sit and talk to. And when I see plantain when I'm traveling in another city, it's like, oh, I feel at home because my friend is there. Let's see, Veronica, when I was younger, I remember riding my horse and the smell of chamomile. I will never forget that smell. And in the winter, the smell of cinnamon and star anise. Yeah. So the plants, they have different ways of communicating with us, and emotions, our sensory. And see, our senses are different for everyone. It's like we all have different sensory perceptions. Some people feel, some people smell more, some people hear the plants. And so the more we can awaken that innate skill of being able to, what we call interspecies communication, for me, this part is really power. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. There's a lot more comments. I can't quite get to them all. Um, I can go back. Let's see. Christine says, as a child, I loved being in my grandma's garden. As I got older and my father retired from the military, my parents bought our own house. I had a huge yard to start growing plants. It's where I live still. Oh, wow. Now I'm making an herbal garden. I feel completely relaxed when I'm out in my gardens. Last spring, I made a dandelion salve. I loved it so much in the fall. I made yeah. So you've got that connection with your land. When you feel completely relaxed, that's a good sign. That is a really, really good sign. And so I would love to hear more about what is it that really captures your heart, really pulls you forward and this is your herbal story, 5 days of tracking your plant path. And again, the plants never, this journey, this reciprocation never stops. You open to it and it's your family now. And so just asking this question, taking it to bed with you, get out your journal and you can continue to go deeper. And then we're going to do this for 3 more days. I'm going to take you on I'm sweating. We're going to go into step 3 of this process. I've been doing this process with my students for 25 years. And it is incredible what is in there that we don't realize, because for many or most of us, we live in a culture that doesn't really acknowledge or honor this. The plant people. Um, Earthly Shrew Mama says, when I was little, I would smush lavender buds and put them in my nose. I'm still obsessed with lavender. Thank you for holding this space. Yeah. Yeah. Again, we just kind of go, go, go. I got to learn it all. I got to know it all. And, we have to, again, I feel, the herbalists, the herbal medicine makers, the people using spices in their food, at whatever level you're at on this herbal journey, you are part of this movement. There is a cultural movement, right? To honor the earth, to remember how to work with the earth in a reciprocal way, so that we're not just take, that we learn from the herbs how to give back, and we're changing our medicine, our medical, how we treat ourselves, how we care for our body, how we care for each other, right? The plants teach us so many things. And the more we talk about it, then the more it can become part of the conversation. And then the more it continues to move the culture forward. So that's it for today. That's your prompt for today. And I look forward to seeing anything else that you put in the chat. And so just again, what is your what are the chapters? Start looking at the chapters, and it's gonna get longer. Your book's gonna get longer. And then what are those like time stopping moments where you just remember with all of your senses, with all of your being, that the plants, they're here, that they called you. Okay. All right. See you tomorrow. And also, if you know anybody that you think would like to join us on the conversation tomorrow, I'm going to be on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be on Instagram at Cami McBride. I'm going to be in my private Facebook group, My Herbal Kitchen, that you can get into. All right. We'll see you tomorrow.